Hello, good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live, coming to you live here from World Star Studios in Amsterdam Shopping Center. And with me this evening, I have the chairwoman. It's the chairman, but it's chairwoman, cheerleader.
Chairwoman.
It's Olin Bryson Ponderflet. She's chairwoman of the Social Economic Council. And with her is Mr. Dwight William. He is the vice chair of the same organization. And welcome to the program, both of you. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Laurent.
We're doing fine.
Thanks for having us.
Well, it's good to have you all here because the Social Economic Council is a very interesting organization.
Yes. Thank you for having us, Aurel. And we really appreciate it because this is what we want. You said we are always in the background and we want to make that change. So we will start by saying what Social Economic Council is all about.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Mm-hmm. In 10-10-10,
Yeah.
the social economic, we had a social economic council of the Netherlands Antilles, and in 10-10-10 we got our own social economic council. It was established in 2010, and in 2011 we became active, and we had our first president. That was Mr. Rene Richardson. After for a short time we had Mr. Butte, and now we have. I am the chairwoman, with Mr. Dwight Williams as the vice chair.
All right. So now the Social Economic Council, and I remember the days when we were part of the Netherlands Antilles, and we had union leaders and other people getting on the plane going to Curacao. Those days are over. It's now in St. Martin we have our own, right?
Yes.
Yes. Fortunately, we have our own, and it still includes union leaders. It still includes the independent experts, and it still includes members of the business community. But now it's all done locally, all done right here.
So when you all get together, you get together like on a weekly, monthly basis?
Twice a week, and if need be, we are more often.
Twice a month.
Yes. Twice a month.
Twice a
sorry.
I would say so twice a week. Wow, I was like a little shocked.
Yeah, twice a month, and if need be, we'll meet more often.
Now, when you meet, because the public seems to don't know much about the Social Economic Council in terms of what you're really doing, what kind of advice you give to government, etc.
Well, what you said is the core. We are an independent advisory organization. We are the council, a council. To make it clear, we have several councils and several layer of councils in our constitution. For instance, we have the ombudsman, we have the advisory council and the audit chamber. Those are called high councils because they are called by name in the constitution. We are not called by name. We fall under the councils that can be established. However, the Social Economic Council was a condition to attain the status we're in. And we are represented in the Social Economic Council. We have the entire society represented. As Dwight said, we have the union, we have employers, and we have independent members. And what is our task is to advise government. We can advise them if they ask, solicited advices, and we can ask them if we see anything in our community that you would want to address, then we can also give an advice on that.
Now, the Social Economic Council, I don't know if you all want to comment on Transparency International, because I saw some figures that I was surprised in terms of what they had in the report on poverty. According to Transparency International, the income per household should be 4,000 guilders, or if it's less than 4,000 guilders, then it's below the poverty line. But at the same time, we don't really have an established, recognized or established poverty line by the government of St. Martin in terms of what the minimum income should be for household. Is that correct?
Yeah. We are all aware of the outrage that came about when everybody understood and started to review the results of the report, and it was such a high benchmark that was used by Transparency International, so widely considered. I think it was about 75% of our public to be poor,
Right.
or to be, when the SED did a similar when the SED did a report, we used the existing minimum wage as our benchmark, because unfortunately we don't have, our government hasn't, as far as we understand it, has not yet established a benchmark as to what is considered the poverty line, what level of income is considered poverty. So we therefore use what we had available to us, and that was the minimum wage. And based on that, so we consider any family, any household that basically exists or that goes by day, below income of the minimum wage would be considered considered poor, and above that would consider, you go from you go there on. So it was just a matter of where you started. It was just a matter of the benchmarks as far as comparing both reports.
But what surprised me, because if we have the Social Economic Council, and you all play a very important, very vital part in advising government on these matters, did Transparency International meet with the Social Economic Council while conducting this?
They did speak with us. We did.
Okay.
They did meet with us, and we're talking about the transparency report right now. But there were so many other reports that came about the same issue, and they're about.
But that's the one that is important to a lot of people, because it was commissioned by the government.
Yes, that is true.
Based on issues of corruption and transparency in government and good governance. So when you have an organization that is commissioned by the government,
That is true.
to counter claims by the Dutch government, and they make this claim, I'm quite curious to know if they met with the Social Economic Council, because that particular number that also Mr. Williams just touched on,
Right.
was shocking to me and shocking to everybody.
Everybody.
So I wonder how you all felt when you saw the report.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, they met with us, and I'm pretty sure they met with other councils as well.
Yeah.
But they use what they choose to use. They use what they thought would, in their opinion at least, what made sense to them or what they find best to use. So even if we were to give them, I'm pretty sure that our, even if we were to give them our research, our ideas, and they thought this, they had a better benchmark, that's what they would have used. And in this particular case, that's what they did. They used what they thought was the best for them.
The reason I'm saying, because I noticed after that there's quite a demand for by people in this community, and even the elderly, in terms of what they should be getting as a pension, and trying to compare it to what's given as a pension in the Netherlands. But also I noticed that the Social Economic Council have this special program called Boost St. Martin.
Boost St. Martin.
Is that similar to, what's that program all about?
Boost St. Martin is about the poverty. We don't have a poverty line, so we established a poverty line. And this is a program that was established in Latin America. And it's about giving everybody a reasonable living. So it's a program that will be, you will check a household, and we will see, okay, if it's a single household, is the mother working? You will get money from government. To put it short, you'll be getting money from government. That is what we propose, but under certain conditions. So if you have children from between the age of 15 and 18 in your household, they have to attend school. If you are pregnant, you will have to go to the doctor to get a safe delivery, because we're saying we can have people who don't have good medical care, who don't go to school. We want to break the cycle of poverty. We don't want to perpetuate poverty. So by giving the students, the children, the opportunity to complete school, at least they will have the high school to continue. When you have babies, if the mother is not healthy during pregnancy, she will get a sick baby, and that will cost us money too. So they will not, the amount they're going to get per month, we propose, is not a lot. But it will help you, because you will be in other programs to help you get over the poverty. And it's not so that you have to be there permanently. But these advices, I would like to keep this for general, because persons who have worked specifically on this, you can we gladly bring them along on another time, and they can really go in depth of for what it is.
So the program is at what stage right now?
We have to submit it. We presented it to government, but we have to, we have had a lot of changes, so we have to go back and present it and explain the way how we're working right now is not only presenting it to government, but giving them the chance to ask questions about it. So we would go through with it and make it live for them, because we know that our politicians and our parliamentarians and our ministers, they have a lot of work. So if they're talking about fixing a budget and you come with something completely also important, but they're not going to look at it. So what we want to do is to choose a time when we would present these things, and we will talk to them and see the urgency, because all advices are not binding. They are not binding.
They don't have to follow them.
So they don't have to follow it. We have to make it so important to them to know that it is really improving, it really will give an improvement on our society, that they will take it over.
So it has to be sellable. There has to be something that they would they look at it, they pick up and say, hey, this can work, this this benefits us all. So let's go with this, as opposed to being something that they just try to push down their throat and say, do it this way. It's not going to work like that. It has to be something that they look at and say, wow, this is something that we could really take and run with and could be efficient. And it's not necessarily too expensive. And just to add, even with the boosted Martin, it's not, it still won't be to the level of what Transparency International, for example, said. It's still based on our local economy, still based on our minimum wage and so forth. So it won't be compared to Holland, for example, so it's still based on economies of scale.
So the thing is that I wonder if we can afford it.
That's a whole, so that's what we're getting back to. It's something that we can afford, that we believe our country can afford, as opposed to being something that we know government can't afford, but we still say, hey, look, try this. Why do that if they can't afford it and it won't work? Then we just wasted everybody's time.
And the persons who are, one thing we have to make clear, if you are on understand, you will not fall in this program. So it's really focusing on the very, very, very poor.
But then you're still going to have to establish that poverty line.
Yeah. Well, we excluded a lot already. We're excluding those. You fall under minimum wage, and you're not understand, and you have to be living a while on the island. But
what, 2 years or something like that?
2 years, yes.
Yeah. But I'm curious about it, because people watching this program say, "Wow, this seems like a good idea." If I'm not working, I don't have to really rush to find myself a job, because
no, it's not that. It's conditional cash transfer. That's what it is. Conditional. So you have to live up to the condition set. If you don't, you are out of the program. There will be social workers following you. You will have to, if you, for instance, your child doesn't go to school. If you don't see to it that your child goes to school, you will be taken off the program. If you are pregnant and you do not go for your regular checkup and follow you will be out of the program. So it's conditional. You have to live up, stick to the condition set. So it's not just giving you money. And the impact it will have on our community is that we will be having more children with a high school. And education is the beginning of everything. And we will be having healthier children. Now, those children who go to have completed their high school, you will ask, well, okay, now they have completed their high school, what will happen to them? Because then they still can't do anything. And that's when the pre-USM kicks in. The program that the University of St. Martin have now, the pre-USM, because then they can fall in that program. So, and that is also a program that has to be paid, and sometimes people get sponsors and so on. But we are trying to raise the level of education of our youngsters, and then we will be able to, we will get you out of poverty. So slowly but surely you will be taken out of poverty. You will take yourself out of poverty by living up to the rules set by conditional cash transfer.
And that was the underlying purpose of this. If you look at everything, that's at the end of the day, the focus here is to keep the students in school, having finished school, at least finished high school, and therefore you need to take care of their parents. If you don't take care of their parents, you don't, the kids fall, because the kids eventually would have to go out to work to support their parents. So the whole underlying purpose here is to ensure that the kids go through the whole school process, finish high school, and eventually hopefully get to move on to the pre-USM.
Is there any concern by the Social Economic Council in terms of the high unemployment among our youth? Does that have you all concerned?
Well, this is one of the ways you start work on that. So you probably can't go and directly work on those that are already in the situation, but the ones that are coming up and comers, you could get them prepared that they don't end up in those situations.
In terms of meetings that you all have, because you said earlier that the Social Economic Council consists of business, labor, government.
Right.
When you're meeting, what are some of the concerns of the business community? What are the concerns of the business members? I would like to hear that, because I've heard from them also their concerns, and sometimes it's not what the government and others want to hear.
Well, everybody's concerned about crime in our society. But as a Social Economic Council, that's what is so interesting with the Social Economic Council. You're getting 3 views.
No, but I want to hear the view. What are some of the views
Of
from
the-
the business?
Of the
members?
business,
Yeah.
they would like to see they would like to see the crime drop. But they are their concerns, but everybody has a task. Everybody has a task. It's not only government has a task.
Okay.
So we would discuss. They will bring this up, and then unions would have their input, and the independent would have their input,
Yeah.
and so we will discuss.
The reason I ask that question because I've heard a lot of people from the business sector complain about students not being prepared for the job market. And sometimes I think it's unfair towards our educational system. Other times I think it's a valid point. All depends on the type of business that's making that claim. Have you all heard that in the meetings of the Social Economic Council?
We haven't directly heard that, but I know because for our school, when you complete high school, and I'm not talking about Harvard or Fairview, it's a preparatory. It's not like long ago that when you went to LTS, you came out as a carpenter, or it's no longer like that. So that is the system. The system has changed, but they still go on job training, and the idea is that after your high school, you go to the either you go to pre-USM or you go to SBO, the NIPA, and get your training there.
So in terms of the Social Economic Council and improving conditions for people, education plays a very large part of that also.
Yeah, what we do is we have introduced a new way of working in the Social Economic Council. We have now committees, and we tackle every problem that is brought forward is tackled by a committee, and education is one of them. That we have a committee, an education committee, and it's a huge problem. It's really, you don't know where to start, and you don't know how it's going to develop. Will government, does it call for radical change? Can we fix it as it is? Those are questions that are asked. We're dealing with taxes. What is with our tax system? There's a group of our members.
You all deal with that?
Yeah, we are in a committee.
I'm surprised in a way, because it seems like no one on this island seems to realize the danger of the turnover tax and what it has done to St. Martin since 1995. And although there are no empirical evidence here in terms of what has happened, the whole thing is that if you look at St. Martin since 1995, you only hear a few people complain about the turnover tax, but it has hurt this island more than it has helped. What it has done is barely brought money into the government coffers, but it has drained the economy and also at the same time
Now the question is,
impede our young people from getting jobs. So I think it's been an obstacle in that way. I wonder if you all discussed that.
That has been one of the questions that you get from the business community. I think that but like just we face the same situation as everybody else out there who's trying to tackle it. What works best? Because there are pros and cons to every situation. Every tax situation you could think of, there are pros and cons. So like Ms. Rice it was stated, and we have a committee that's currently working on that. But every time, and what we do, the committees report to the board every so often, and every time they come to report to the board, you see the excitement on their faces. You hear the excitement in their voices that they're getting this far. But then they were just as fast. I don't want to say how challenging it is to find one that they think works best for our island. So we do agree for sure. One thing the council has agreed on is that the turnover tax has had a certain effect. It has brought in more money for government, but it has had its negative effects on the business community, because now you've got to consider that additional expense. And what you've seen is what they've said is when you pass the tax over to the consumers are now running to more online purchases, and they're finding ways to work around this. So you're now taking funds, or you're taking cash out of our system, out of our local system, and now sending it abroad.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the negative effects.
Even poor people are doing it. Even
Yeah,
poor people now, although they don't have a credit card, they find a way to go by someone, use a credit card and purchase. So
government is getting less money than they expect, a lot less.
So I wonder if, go ahead.
So you have what you do. You have a probably higher tax amount, and but you're probably getting less bang for your buck now as far as government is concerned. So they may increase the amount, and you may think, okay, we're going to collect more because the tax is higher, but you may have less people now paying into it, and you have less turnover as well. So you have to judge the pros and cons of it.
So now the Social Economic Council, there's a pending advice on taxes. Does that involve turnover tax or some other form?
We already gave an advice on turnover tax.
Okay.
We advised against an increase.
Correct.
The tax problem is so huge that we are dealing with it portion-wise. So now we are tackling. We would be asking, why is it that we can't get a hold of our taxes? What is happening when with products that are coming in our country? We're not talking about introducing income tax, but what happens? Does government know what's going on? Does government know what is coming in their country?
Because government need to know.
Yes.
I kind of worry if government need to know, because they're going to probably tax even more.
But every country knows how much should know what is entering your country, because how are you going to tax the person who is selling the product?
But look, and I'll show you something, right? Why people are so disappointed when they talk about government in the statement I just made there, because we had a census that was recently held. We still don't know the results of that population census. It's not been made public. And then they went on because there was a mistake and had to go back and do something. I think this is why people are so suspicious of anything where, like you mentioned, that private government. And I got suspicious one time. I'm sure a lot of people will feel the same way, because people are not really getting to. Government want to know, what about us? We need to know too. And most of the time, we don't know.
That's true.
Only government is knowing. It's a one-way street. And I think the more the people know, and the less the government know, probably we'll have a better country.
I wouldn't necessarily agree, but we have to realize, so this is a young country.
Yeah.
This is a country that's centuries behind, let's say Holland, for example. So it's going to take some time before we get up to the level that we're being compared to.
All right. So now basically the public is concerned with the Social Economic Council in terms of what you're doing. So your advisory body, you advise the government on social issues, right?
Correct.
And the minimum wage now it's what, 1,000, three something?
14.
1,400?
Yeah,
1460,
14,
something
yeah.
like that.
1460. Okay. And do we have one minimum wage, or do we have 2 or 3 minimum wage, depending on the type of work you're doing?
That seems to be the case, but yeah, there are many things that we have, which has continued after 10-10-10. There are a lot of things we are realizing now that should have been addressed, you know,
Right.
and it isn't. Many things go wrong when you have a new country. We always we have definitely underestimated
It's 5
the
years
transition. Yes, but 5 years is like 5 days in a country. I mean, you have to start up new, but everything is continuing. So it is not, everybody says 5 days. 5 years in an eye of a country is like 1 day, like 5 days. It is not so that everything will run smoothly. What should happen is that as a council, we should bring to the attention how we can improve our society.
Does it make it difficult for you to do your job, seeing that government is changing so fast?
Well, we do not let ourselves get frustrated because it's going to be there. Whoever is there, the advices are going to be there. And we can reintroduce an advice. For instance, if right now we thought we had an appointment with
Mr. Finance.
with the Minister of General Affairs, and now everything changed over. But we say, okay, but the next Minister of General Affairs is there. We will request an audience with him and continue.
Do you think he'll have time in the next 30, 40 days? He's a busy man, and probably this might not be a priority for the new Prime Minister right now.
I think your society should be priority. And it is, if we want to grow, if we want to talk about having a St. Martin nation, we have to make sure that people not only earn well, sufficient, but that they are happy in what they do. We have to take care that if we talked about the roads, we talk about many things that can just be fixed, things that can be fixed without much hassle. And we could bring it, but it makes you feel pleasant. If you know when you go to an office, you will find a paper there with all your requirements so that you don't have to ask and come back. But you know, when I go to that window, I have to have X, Y, Z. And you bring that to the attention of the government because there are simple things that sometimes you don't see because government is looking at the bigger picture. And we have to look at what will make this community better.
You know, I am very disappointed in government these days. I worked for the government for 10 years. I was head of the Government Information Service. I can tell you, I've seen a change in behavior and attitude among civil servants that's very upsetting. Seeing where civil servants feel like they're some superior being to everyone else. The attitude among civil servants and the way they operate, all of this have to change if you really want to address the issues of the working poor on this island. I didn't say the working class, I said the working poor, because we have so many people struggling on this island. And we can talk as long as we want about the whole issue is that people are struggling, trying to make ends meet. We go to the supermarkets every day, and every day the prices are changing constantly. So I wonder too, when it comes to Social Economic Council, what happened in your meetings? Do you have people that represent the supermarkets, and do you all get complaints from the unions about the supermarkets, etc.? I'm just curious.
Well, right now we can't. There is so much we have to deal with. There's so many problems that right now we are dealing with education, we're dealing with environment, we're dealing with tax, and those are the issues that are brought to there are a couple more, but are brought to the table and that we discuss.
So what we did in the beginning of the year is we we put together a list of advisories that we thought would have been important. And so what you just mentioned was one of the advisories of the price, the cost of living was one of the topics that came up. But let's say, for example, we got 15 topics, and as a board, we say, well, these are the top 3 most important. We'll tackle these first. Those are the next 3. These are the next 3, and eventually come down that line. Because we could sit in here tonight and we could name 20 issues on the island that we'd like to see dealt with. But truthfully, you can only work with one at a time.
But cost of living is a number one for most people. I do these programs here every week,
but even
and that's my biggest call. People call and complain all the time about cost of living and the price in supermarkets. So I'll see that should be one of the priority lists on
No, but there are certain things we will tackle everything, but we have to, our society has to learn that everybody has a task. Everybody has a task. And we can complain, we can call here and complain as a people, but we have to find out, where do I go with my complaint? Calling it in to Oral Gibbs is fine, but what can we do as a people? Where can we go? How can we group ourselves together and do it? It's just like we talk about crime, prevent crime. Yes, we have crime, but when something happens, where do the criminals sleep? Because police can't find them. We have never found a criminal in a tree, but we are complaining about it. So everybody, the business community, the citizens and government all have a role to play. And are all of us really playing, doing what we should do? Because then it would show up whoever isn't doing his or her work more.
But you know what, Mrs. Bryson? I want to correct you there, because when people call in on this program, I take a very personal interest in their problem. I had a gentleman call in the other night and was walking back and forth for over 2 months, couldn't get his doctor card, needed medication, couldn't get the medication. And after he called on this program, the next day I told him, you'll have your doctor card tomorrow. He had it tomorrow. So we play a very vital role. We are the go-between the government, business, and the poor people of this island. And when they can't find nowhere to turn, they turn to us. And what we do, we make sure that their concern is heard by government and the government act. So calling in on Oral Gibbs is not as likely as you might think. We play a very, very vital role in the community, and we make sure if it's legitimate, we will make sure that that person concerned is taken care of. So I just want you to know that, because
I know, but
it's not like they call in and nothing is done.
No, but as a Social Economic Council, we look at the general thing. I don't think it should be. It should be that anybody should be waiting on the government, and that's where the Social Economic Council come in. We will try and see what is the reason for that happening.
The process.
So yes. What is the cost? What can we do? How can we do to fix it so that everybody can get their doctor's card without that's your right. You paid for it. That is your right.
Exactly. So and that's yeah.
So we would not. Of course, we would advise the person and maybe also call, but we would go to see that everybody gets that right be enforced.
So you all are working hard. You have how many topics you're tackling for next year? You already have next year planned out, because the years are.
We are tackling right now. We are working on issues that we mentioned that we will continue working on, because you can. There's a lot to work on, but you have to also complete what you're working on. You have to finish. We have to have an advice. We have to go. We have to talk about it. So
go ahead.
And what our other goal is we really want to meet the people. I've met with a group of afternoon owners, afternoon school workers, to find out what their problems are, and so we will try to meet with other groups.
All right, let me take some calls for now. Oral Gibbs live on call. Hello.
Good evening, Oral.
Good evening. Oh man, so nice to hear your voice. I haven't heard you in a million years.
I wasn't going to call it, but Odile is one of my. We have well, good. How would you say, comrades in Aruba?
Right.
I was going to school there. Okay, what I want to say to the members there of the third
Okay.
They should advise government that by having minimum wage, those people don't pay taxes. The government themselves have created a hole in the bucket. There should be, because when you have a minimum wage, they do not pay taxes because it's below 19,000, 1900 or what guilders. They don't pay taxes.
Okay. So what you're saying?
The government has to make sure they increase. And the problem is that by doing that, they have encouraged the businesses to import
Labor.
non-locals and people who are happy to work for a low income, and that's why government cannot have
Okay. Let me have them respond to you then.
alcohol in their thing.
All right. Okay. Thanks for calling. Have them respond to you.
Okay, I don't need to. I'm going to hang up now.
All right. Good. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Take care. Thanks for calling. So you want to?
Yes, whenever we come with labor and working, we come to the issue of immigration. That's what it comes to. That has to be.
You can give unsolicited advice on that too?
We can give unsolicited advice, but it was cleared up with the Brooks Tower. Everybody knew what was happening.
Really?
Yes, it did not work out as we
Okay.
expected it to, but there was nothing, as far as I know, there was
Right.
nothing wrong with it. We have to get certain things in place, and when it is agreed, everybody should carry it out. It's ultimately here that we decided this and something else happened, and people are the victims of these things.
Okay.
But there are also persons who check the workplaces.
Okay. Let me take a call for you. Or not there. When it comes to the Brooks Tower, I don't know how to describe that program because when you listen to some people on this island, some people came into this island after the prescribed time, and they got their papers, and people who were here 10 years before them still didn't get their papers. Let me take a call for you. So I think when we look at that, all these programs, and it was so riddled with problems. I was at a local business, and I saw Dutch European investigators investigating and questioning people. I saw it with my own eyes, and showing them pictures and asking them to identify this person, that. So when it comes to that program, I don't know if it really worked and it really helped the people. It was designed to help. Let me take a call. Oral Gibbs Live and caller. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on live. Yes, you're on live caller.
I'm on, is that right?
You're on the air live caller. Go right ahead.
Okay. If it wasn't for your program, this is Maria Hunt.
Yes, Miss Son.
With respect to the lady, Mr. Dyson, on the plus, but it wasn't for you. I don't call your show, the Senior Association, somewhere in the home, with the Kitty John Lemmy Center. We had 4 years our bathroom was under neglect. And I don't think she ever came there to see what happened to our elders. And I'm a Tomato, indigenous Tomato, and I was concerned. And I called you. You called Maurice, and Carrot had the responsibility at that time, and we get our bathroom fixed. So I don't know what she's talking about. Bye-bye.
Right. No, I just this small one. I think that had to do with the senior citizens at the John Lomney Center that had all these years, the toilet overflowing and everything else. And when Minister Lake was there, I got involved, and it was still difficult to get civil servants who had to take care of that problem. So I think that's what she's speaking about. So probably not aware of it, but that's what she was trying to explain. But yeah, so that's what so I don't think you're aware of that. But I think what she was saying, because of what you said in the past, where people would just call, I think because, remember I said that you can make a statement that people call on my show, but we really work hard to help people when they call. And she was confirming what I said, that we really do go out of our way to help people when they call. So it's not just a call issue, but we really go. Let's take another call. Oral Gibbs Live and caller. Hello? Yeah, caller?
Greetings to you and your guest.
Thank you.
Mr. Lake.
I must say that I have heard people compliment you for what you have done for them. And that is great. Single-handed, you have been helping some people, because listening to your program, I've heard it. Now, concerning the social economical association or whatever.
Social Economic Council. Social Economic Council.
Economic Council.
Yeah.
I am saying this to them. First, to begin with, they have to work hard and sincere and be just to the people, not class prejudice. Because many organizations pop up and say, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other. Definitely the cost of living is too high. And how could you be taxing pensioners and all that kind of a thing? And neither is it the correct thing, in my view, to implement law whereby pensioners have to work 62, 65 years and what. I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this. Because it should be considered that the young people in the community who are being educated, they have a right to enter government. So what they've had there with 60 years, that isn't any real problem when you look at it in an X-ray. What is the problem? That government were not treating some persons that have been working with them in a justifiable way, because had they been given people correct wages whereby people could have built themselves economically and structure families, some of the same people would have been able to hire some of the young people. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Instead of thinking how to curtail that. Instead, what has happened? Many people, now I have nothing against investors and strangers doing business on the island. But why should this island have a whole line of Chinese doing business that local people could do? And likewise Indians. I'm not saying it for prejudice. Because what now it has caused, some of those people are so much dependent upon those other people in business.
Okay.
That absolutely they feel painful.
I know you.
If they should talk about what's happening.
I know you have a long comment there, Mr. Lake, but
I understand.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is this. The point I'm making is this. It's not the Chinese. It's not the Indians. It's the American politicians And we, the pensioners, are saying to you, unless you truly sincerely work in behalf of the people, all the people, starting with the pensioners, then you would have accomplished nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, let us let us bring it back to the SER, Social Economic Council. We are an advisory council. Our task is to point out things that are not right or can be rectified in our society in the benefit of the people. Our advices are not binding. We do our best to look at the total picture of our society and bring it to the attention. We are there to make government do everything in the interest of the people. Whoever government is there, that's not our problem. Our problem is making having the well-being and welfare of the people of St. Martin brought to the attention of the government.
But isn't that what he just said? Because he mentioned about the seniors. He mentioned about cost of living. I know that the Social Economic Council, you all are working on the ABPZ situation in terms of broadening that and also including more services for the elderly. I don't know if you all want to touch on that.
Correct. So we have advised to raise our pay, and we have, but again, these are just advices. There's no mandate to government. So government can basically take this document up, read it, say, hey, it's good, it's not, and they choose whatever they choose to do with this document is totally up to them. We give our advice, and if it's taken on, great. If not, then there's very little that we can do with it. Eventually, most of the documents do come public, and then the general public can, you can give your opinion on it. They probably come to the show, and you could probably.
How come I never get asked to be on some of these kind of organizations, the Social Economic Council? The reason why I say that, I'm curious because, in St. Martin, I notice nobody wants to offend no one. Everybody wants to say everything that everyone is happy with. And I noticed that when Mr. Lake just called a while ago, the response was from you that, well, we advise government don't care. But that's not what Mr. Lake said. Mr. Lake was saying that there are issues, there are social issues and problems that the public are concerned about. And he listed them very good in terms of cost of living, in terms of business, etc. But you all didn't respond to that at all.
But it's Mr. Gibbs, we are aware of, they are human. We have 5 members working with us.
I understand, but he hung up the phone, and it seems like as if you never really answered his questions. That's why I went back to it.
He's talking about the government and what the government has to do. And I pointed out to him, I point out to everybody who's listening that we are an advisory council. I have to, whenever a question comes up where it comes as government, I have to not let them remain with the idea
I understand that
we are in control, and we are doing our best. We are saying.
I understand that, and I think the public understand that. But I think the issue here is not that. The issue is, and let me ask that question then. Did the Social Economic Council advise the government on the cost of living situation on St. Martin in terms of the cost of food, etc.? Yes or no?
We did not deal with that right now. Okay. We did not deal with that. But there are, if we deal with that area, there are other areas we will not deal with.
But at least he feels better because he got an answer because
it's a valid point to be dealt with. It's a valid point. But like we said, there's so much. We have, for instance, we're talking about food is very important, and that you have your doctor's card and that you don't get sick. But we are tackling the environment. We are tackling the dump right now. We're coming with advice what to do with dump. It is not only that the dump is a disgrace to see, it's also so that it can create diseases that we're not even aware of. So that would impact the entire society if that were cleared.
All right.
It's not that we think that one social ill is more important than the other, but at a certain time you have to set priorities. And we did work with the AOV. We did advise them to raise, but and we are talking about AVBZ. We are talking about everything, but you have to see, when we give an advice, we have to also be responsible enough to ask, can we afford it? When can we afford it? How can we afford it? It's not just saying, oh, we want it, and then we know we want it, but can we afford it right now?
All right.
And the way our council stands, remember we have both the employees, we have the employees, and we have independent members. So on one end, you may have the workers screaming and shouting and say, we want an increase. On the other end, you have the employees saying, but we can't afford to give increases. On our council, you have all three, and we have to hash it out and fight it out right there in the council and come up with an overall best, that works for everyone.
So I don't know if there's anything you want to add quickly, Mr. Bryson, that you think is important for people to know?
It's important to know that we will be contacting groups in the community to come and talk with us and find out where we can find a common ground. We cannot focus on individual problems, but a problem that covers the society or a big group. We can decide or talk with them and see, can we forward an advice to government. We are there to look out. We are the ear of the people. We are the council in which everybody in the society is represented, and that we try to formulate advices to improve the situation of the citizens on St. Martin.
All right. We're the eyes and ears of the public.
Excuse me?
You're the ears, I'm the eyes and ears.
Well, we are everything too.
All right. So that's what you should put on your agenda. Cost of living, because everybody is complaining about cost of living, and that's why Mr. Lake was so shocked to know that nothing is being done, and that hopefully in 2016 that the Social Economic Council will see it fit to tackle cost of living concerns, because that's numero uno on St. Martin right now.
But there are things that, as a community, and we can also be vigilant. Nobody is going to clear up. We can have the Social Economic Council will do their part. Government will try and do their part. Everybody will try and do their part. But as a society, as a citizen, you also have to do your task.
That's why we're here, to make sure that they do that. We will continue to do our work, and you continue doing your work. Thank you both for coming, Ms. Bryson and Mr. Williams. And I hope in 2016 we can hear that the Social Economic Council is tackling the cost of living issue on this island and a lot more other concerns for people.
We can only advise. That is my last. We can only advise.
We know that we mean. Tackle by, in other words, unsolicited advice to the government to really look at ways to improve the lives of our people. That's my main concern, and I don't get paid for doing that. You all do, right? Anyway, thank you all, and I'll see you next time, and thanks again for all of you.